Hey everyone, my name is Joshua and welcome to Conversations with Joshua T. Berglan. Today is going to be I'm just really excited. Jennifer Cobb is a friend, is somebody I've known for several years, and she is always up to something amazing. And she's got a new documentary, she's some children's books. I don't know what her exact position with the Michael J. Fox Foundation was or is, but she was involved in that heavily. I remember there was a big event that I was supposed to be a part of, but was unable to make it because of traveling. And she's just always up to something amazing. She's a former NFL cheerleader. She's involved with the NFL, involved with the NFL alumni, and just an overall amazing humanitarian, somebody that leads with love, but is hardworking, determined, creative. And I just think she's inspiring. So you guys are in for a treat. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. Actually, let me tell you, I've already told you my name. This is the World's Mayor Experience. This is a brand new platform, and I'm very excited about it. And I thank everyone for supporting it. So wherever you're watching from, please go to joshuatberglan.com, theworldsmayor.com, and check out what we're doing. We have a big mission. We need your support. We can't do it without you. But it's just, I don't know. I'm so excited about the future. I'm so excited about all that is going on. But one of my favorite things about what I get to do is talk to amazing, amazing people. And Jennifer is one of those people. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome my friend, Jennifer Cobb.
So excited to see your just handsome self, like from head to toe, everything about Joshua. Like we have not connected since probably 2018, right prior to COVID. And it's like we all migrated into our own little worlds. I think you and I both have lived, 2 or 3, maybe 4 lives since then. And to finally, this is so amazing. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me. Like, I'm getting to get emotional here. Like, I have watched you go from 0 to 1,000 million in literally the last number of years. And I don't think you get told enough. What an honor, but how awesome to be able to see that and inspire me. I don't know if people say that enough to you. You are truly an iconic inspiration. Epic. And, hopefully I am in that way to my children. They see me in a different light outside of being a mother, a mom in the home, my legacy outside the home, the charitable work I do, the service I do, from the documentary movies to the children book I just finished writing to just all of the things of Jennifer. I see that in you, and it's an inspiration. It really, truly is epic. So thank you for having me on the show.
You'll see my intro later, and I think I told you I did like 4 right before because it almost sounded like I was in love with you, and it made it and then I was gushing because I am so inspired by you, like all that you do and what you were doing. Like, I mean, when I was following you on Facebook and we first met, and then I had that opportunity to be a part of your event, but then I was traveling and couldn't do it. But like watching your journey and seeing all that you've done and then all that you do and all that you keep doing, that's inspiring for people like me, because like I want to change the world. Like, for all the bad I did, I have 5 times the energy for good. But when you make those shifts in life, it takes a while to figure things out, to fully heal, to fully get on your feet, because there's still ups and downs, and there's 5 steps forward and then 10 steps back sometimes, but then getting up and still going. and moving forward and creating something. And maybe it doesn't take off the way that I want. So it's like, okay, well, we create again. We don't give up. But when I see someone like yourself and all that you've done with cheerleading and the NFL and the documentaries and the books and the foundations and the charity work, like that, I see that and it inspires me and it makes me want to do more. And it makes me want to do, not just do more, but to do better. And
Yeah.
because you've been a positive influence on me from a distance, because we've never actually met in person.
No, we haven't. And
So this
thank
is a
goodness
big
for
deal to me.
technology. Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't be on talking right now if it wasn't for the technology. And yeah, it's interesting. We oftentimes put so much expectation, high expectation on ourselves personally, which is
Yeah.
great. I love that about me. I love that about you. But we also have to look at our expectations and say, okay, what are we taking from these expectations? How real are they? And what do you want to accomplish from these expectations? The millennial and the generation of my children, they have such high expectations of instant gratification now, everything now. I mean, Instagram, Snapchat. It's like, if I don't get this like right away, instantly, that I'm not valued. And that all goes to the common denominator of dopamine in our brain. Dopamine is what drives behavior, and behavior drives our choices, and our choices and behavior dictate our personalities. And so all of us living in that instant gratifying world, especially at the younger age, teens, 20s, and 30s, they still have what now, 20 more lives ahead of them. So their expectations are what our expectations are, even in our older years. And shame on them, really, because when you really look at human nature, human ability, personally, it's almost kind of a little arrogant. How dare you think that much of yourself at 18, 19, that you have to have this attained, this done, this accomplished, when you haven't even given yourself enough credit. Honestly, you literally just graduated, walked across the stage, got a diploma, and now you're already down on yourself because you haven't lived 4 or 5 lives. Wow. Wow. Like, you really need to look at your own accountability and say, okay, what do I truly want to accomplish, and take them in many steps. And for me, that's kind of, Joshua, what I have done through the course of my life. But I haven't really got into taking those little mini steps along the way until my children were at the age where they were a little bit more self-sufficient,
Yeah.
and not hanging on my leg and needed me to, either safety blanket, mommy, mommy, mommy. So a lot of this that you have saw through the years has really taken off in my later 30s. And I'm getting my age out there, but yeah. So, and I'm truly inspired by myself, and that feeds for me, that I get fed that by seeing how it inspires my children. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's really what matters.
Yeah. It's for me, for when I first started my journey, it was about what I could accomplish. But now it's what I can do with my family. And that for me has become, it's changed all of my motivations. Now, the goals, as far as the global goals and the global mission, is the same.
Right.
But with that, there's a bit of a rock star aspect to it, because it is traveling, it is being on stage, but it's also working in these communities. But I've always been inspired. I mean, I'm surrounded by different books of rock stars that have done world tours, and that's a big goal of mine for what I want to do with the World's Mayor experience and how we serve in the communities. But again, there's a rock star element to it, because it's on the road, it's traveling, it's living out of a suitcase. And I've been very blessed to find a family that is like, we want to do this too. And
Yeah.
it's just such a blessing. But so I say that my priorities changed. It's not so much that they changed, it's just that it's no longer about me. It's about us. And that feels good. And at the same time, having two amazing daughters that see what I do, they think it's super interesting, they want to be a part of it, they ask questions, they love to see the merch, as they call it, they like to see what I'm building behind the scenes. And it's like, what a dream. And I would have never thought that any of that was possible, or that it would be such a cool feeling to want to impress kids, or especially my own. I never thought about those things.
Right.
But now it's like, that's kind of who I do it for, is them, no one else. I mean, I want to help other people, but my
Right.
my
Right.
intentions are for them.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
relate to that.
Yeah. And I'm sure you know, if not, my father passed away in January. I
I'm
had made
sorry.
a, um, post about it, of
Oh, I
Parkinson.
haven't been on Facebook in a while, so I don't know.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
he
so
had
I didn't
battled
know.
it for about 23 years. And one of the things I recognize with death from his passing is what he has left on this life journey, this earth,
Mhm.
for the people he affected, the relationships that he had during his life here on earth, and how that's still inspiring. So for me, I truly, when I speak of legacy, I truly want my legacy for my children and those that I have met along the way to remember what I have done and what I inspired them to become or do. Look, you and I are just like everyone else. We all have the same common desire in our lives. It's to affect other people in a positive way. Sometime along the way, we take some bad turns. I always tell my children, we take a bad exit, get back on the road and get between the lines. And I've taken many bad exits before, and that's okay, because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those bad exits. So, but what I do have is a really, really good formula. What is Jennifer's formula? I have really good people around me that have my blind spots, and
Mm.
they say, Jen, you're not yourself, what's going on, or haven't heard from you, or whatever it is, they've got me. And so with my children, where they're at in their lives, I'm their blind spot. I've got their blind spots, and I call them on it. I always treat my children like they're 2 years older than they are, and they're not little kids anymore. I'm not their mommy, I'm their mother, their mentor, you know?
That does
And
change,
so,
yeah.
yeah, I treat them as that. And I have good adult conversations with them. And I want them to come to me and say, hey, mom, I'm having a tough time with this decision. Okay, well, talk to me. Let's talk it through. And never give them what I would do. I would always just talk it through and say, okay, executive function skills is so incredibly important at that age, because when you master or try to perfect it or do well at executive function, it's going to help pay dividends later on in life when those situations come up and your mommy or daddy is not there to help you go through it. And so my father's passing, has really allowed me to look back and to see all of the things and remember all the things that he has taught me through my life. And now I get to pass that on to my children, but also make a legacy for myself individually, personally. So,
I want to, yeah, legacy has become something that has been a driving force ever since my father died, but for a different reason. And I don't want to speak poorly of my father, because I've forgiven him and I love him, and now I'm grateful for all the stuff that I hated and experienced. I'll just leave it at that. But his funeral left an impact on me, and be not. Of course, the funeral story is for another time. Because I showed up in a bad way. I showed up late, and I was still very strung out and messed up at that time. But one of the things that really bothered me was that he kind of staged the funeral to make it feel like he left a legacy. And the
Oh,
legacy was like everyone talked good, and it was like a lot of misrepresentation of what the truth was.
oh,
And
wow.
I remember sitting with him at lunch, and he said, "How will you remember?" This is right before he died. He said, "How will you remember me?" And he had just had full blown brain radiation from he died from melanoma, but it got all in his brain, and I didn't have the heart to tell him the truth. And I don't know what the point would have been at that time, but that question carried over into the way the funeral was, like even what the preacher was saying, because he was friends with the preacher. And I'm sitting there, and I was effed up out of my mind, but I remember hearing what was being said, and I was just disgusted. But the thought came to me, what will your legacy be? And at
Yeah.
that time, my legacy would have been a waste of potential, a waste of gifts, a waste of talent, angry, it was all the things that I didn't want. That accelerated my drug use and everything else until I finally hit the wall. But when I made my life change, legacy came back to the front of my mind, and the determination to reverse all of that bad became a very big driving force. And so sometimes the desire to leave a legacy, my ego can get in the way of that sometimes, and that's a hard thing to manage for me. But at the same time, it's what helps me make the next right decision most of the time, because I'm
Yeah.
still a human being. But it is, and I have other children that are not really involved in my life right now. But part of leaving that legacy is that hopefully they will see the turnaround and want to be involved in my life.
Nice.
That's the other part of it. So my legacy is not just redemption and making right of my wrongs, but it's also leaving something that will benefit and bless future generations. That's the other
Right.
part. What is your legacy that you want to leave?
Um, Boy, that's a loaded question. Um, Really
Unload it.
very loaded. Yeah. Well, the number one, there's a word that comes to my mind. And I sent you an article that the Healthy Planet magazine had done on me. Good people doing good things. Um, there's so much evil in the world, and if I can do good and I can inspire others just by my presence, good for me. That's service right there. And serving others is something that I've always, it's just my personality, Joshua. Like, I just really enjoy people, and I can spend days and years looking back at the things, bad exits I've taken, and, you know, choices I've made. I did the best I could at the time, but I'm actually glad that I went through all of the things that I went through in my life to get me to where I'm at today, so that I can teach my children that they often, kids look at parents as this superhero. Like, you can never have a tear, you can never fail. You got to do it all right, all perfect. Like, at the end of the year, there's Father of the Year award ceremony. Well, you're definitely getting that trophy, right? And there's an end of the year mom ceremony, Mother of the Year. I'm getting the trophy, damn it, Bobby, right? I deserve it. Well, you know, I need my kids to see me sad. I want my children to see. The other day, Zachary did something, the door slammed and he didn't hold it for me. And I said, wow, that was not very nice. You thought of yourself first before your mom. Like, that hurt my feelings, Zach. Like, they need feedback to the
Yeah.
world, or I miss you. It's sad that I haven't had any time with you. I'm selfish that, I know my kids are going to college and they have their own lives, but my love bucket is empty and I need a little bit more of my daughter at the time. I need some love time with my daughter, whether it's, just going for a walk or having a meal or talking on the phone, whatever. It doesn't have to be complicated, but they need to know and hear that I have feelings too. And that's okay,
Yeah.
because, they need to know that I'm not superhuman. I'm a mom that loves you more than anything, but you also have to understand that there's compassion and, understanding that you may look at me as a super mom that carries on the cape and does it all, but there's also a side to me that I get my feelings hurt and I need to have this time or selfish time, whatever
Yeah.
it is, to spend with my children. So the answer to the question, what my legacy is would be, summing it all up, is service, serving others to the capacity of imitation is a great form of flattery, whether it's imitating, whether it's in being inspired, whether it's, visually seeing what I may do, and maybe it sparks an idea, and oh, I want to do something similar. That's going to inspire me to do something else. Well, whatever that service is, that's what I want to leave as my legacy on this earth when it's time for me to go.
Did you so I grew up my both of my parents were very generous. They were givers. And I remember my mom going out of her way when I was young to bring food or water or money to people in need. I remember, taking Christmas gifts to strange homes that that they didn't have gifts. That was left such a huge impression on me. So I don't know if it was hardwired in my DNA or what, or the influence that I had of seeing my family fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves or provide for themselves, that generosity. But that rubbed off on me and it had a huge impact, and it has inspired me. So like, that's how I want to live my life. Like, I never, like, even I being in business, like, I like to see it more of as a service, and I'm serving and I'm helping, not trying to trick you into buying something. Like, I have zero interest, and I'm not even attracted to salespeople in that sense, because it just, like, I would just rather give. Like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
wish that I was born into a world where all I could do is just give. Like, I didn't have to ask for anything or have to hope for money in return. Like, because it feels so much better to serve and give. And when you have something that can benefit someone else, it feels like the greatest blessing in the world to be able to give it to them.
And
And
when you do that, we're all hardwired exactly the same. The word gratitude comes to mind.
yeah,
And the reason gratitude comes to mind is because when you do walk that little old lady across the street and help her so she doesn't get hit by the car, you have a sense of feeling of gratitude. And we all don't do it enough at the end of our day. Recap what we truly are grateful for, or what we have done through the day that we are grateful for. Because, like you said earlier, our ego gets in the way. We think so much of ourselves that we can't even take one moment before we close our eyes and shut out the world for a night's sleep to look back at our day and see what we truly did, that we are truly personally grateful for. And it could be the littlest things. And how awesome for you as an individual to go back and look through your day and say,
mm,
good for me.
mm,
Oh yes, good for me. Good for you, absolutely. Instead of breaking yourself down that you didn't do this enough of that or didn't get this done. And I mean, you again going through that superhuman mentality and having these high expectations, which are awesome. High expectations are great, but you also have to be realistic.
Yeah, and that's tough, especially when you have big goals and big dreams. But I've had to fall in love with the process, or I would have offed myself a long time ago, because I'm not where I want to be. I mean,
No,
I've
but looking back,
accomplished all these things, but
yeah,
I think about the film festivals and the book and like that hit bestseller in 4 countries, and but that doesn't mean anything to me. I want youth media literacy centers all over the world, and I've got all the cities lined up, and who I want to partner with to help bring this, and the why, and like I know deep down in my heart why all of this is important, and I have no idea how I'm going to accomplish this goal, but it is like burning inside my heart and soul, and it has for the last 8 years. And
good for
because
you.
I
That's
never knew
awesome.
how I was going to serve and all of that, but it became very clear 8 years ago what the mission was. And it seemed impossible and completely unlikely. But if I look back at the 8 years, the whole time I've been moving forward while failing miserably. And it's
And
failing miserably in my brain because I'm
yes,
not accomplishing my goals. But the progress is definitely there.
and
And
it
it's
is
so
that way.
exciting.
And what happens is we don't allow ourselves enough time to stop. Just stop. Maybe take an exit and just stop and allow yourself to really listen to what you truly want. You can't hear that voice if you're busy all the time. So you've got to stop and just allow yourself that time to really evaluate. And there's a thing, it's quality over quantity. You can stay as busy all day and think that you're getting all this busy nonsense done and still at the end of the day not be grateful because you didn't accomplish anything, or at least you don't feel like you have. Or you can slow down, work less and smarter, and really truly listen to that inner voice. You are an incredibly smart man. You know exactly how to get there. If you slow down just enough to listen, look at who you are and who the people are in your circle, and delegate or reach out to the network of people that are smarter than you in whatever category it is, and use those resources, you'll get to the top faster than you can say Jennifer Cobb. Right?
You know what? I don't have a circle at all. I
I'll be
have,
your helper.
well, hey, listen, in one of the intros, I talked about how, collaborating with you is something as a goal of mine because I love all that you're doing and all that you're up to, but it's really about I know all that you've accomplished, but the fact is that you're never settling and you're always growing, you're always doing something new, but it's always about other people. And that's inspiring to me. And I'm not saying I don't, when I say I don't have a circle, I mean that literally. I don't have a circle. I do have friends, but I've been kind of like building this thing, and I don't want other people to be involved in that right now. Like I'm fortunate for, technology and being kind of a computer geek, and that's helped me not feel so lonely because it is a very lonely process. But
Yeah.
now I'm done, and so now I'm ready to start networking again. It's weird
Love
how
it.
it's like God took me out of LA and took me on this journey, and now I'm in a small town in Minnesota that most of the world's never heard of. But I love it, and this isolation has helped me build and create and perfect what I've wanted to create. So now it's time to build momentum and start networking and collaborating. So
Mhm.
I'm so on it, like so excited to have you here for that, but also to hear what you're up to. I want to talk about cheerleading real quick. I was a cheerleader, right?
No.
Yeah. I was a So I played college football for a little bit, and I
Okay,
got
I knew
hurt,
that. I knew
and
that.
I was depressed. I was eating sausage and egg biscuits with mustard and hot sauce and hash browns every day, drinking all the time, and I just was miserable because I couldn't play football anymore. It's all I knew. So about 3 weeks into that, I'm in the weight room, and the cheerleaders come up to me, and they're like, "You want to come to cheerleading practice?" And I was like, "Get the beep out of here. Like, I'm a cheerleading practice. You're crazy." No. Like, "Do you want to come to a party?" "Yeah, I want to come to a party." And so after drinking some green grog, which is like trash can punch, but it's green, and partied with the cheerleaders, next thing I know, I'm at cheerleading practice.
I
And
love it.
I'm trying toss to hands for the first time, and it's miserable. I'm getting kicked in the face, and I'm like, I'm not going to suck at this. I'm going to get good. So I got obsessed. Well,
Nice.
I ended up getting good and started getting scholarship offers, and
Yep.
I got into cheerleading. So I got to be around both collegiate cheerleaders and professional cheerleaders.
Nice.
It is such a unique world that it's its own little entity, but the community of cheerleaders is a community of cheerleaders, and it's like it's a special fraternity, sorority, and it's the type of personalities that get into it are pretty like-minded. So it doesn't surprise me that you have the energy to do all of this stuff. You're passionate about helping people. But what I want to ask you is, what from cheerleading, the cheerleading world, you're cheerleading as a professional cheerleader, and being a cheerleader, what of being a cheerleader helped prepare you most for what you do today?
Ooh, that's a great question. Um, so I'm going to tell you a story how I became an NFL cheerleader. So I live here in St. Louis, and I was on my way back from work to go home, and I heard on the radio that Mrs. Frontieri, the owner of the Rams, was hosting open call auditions. She was bringing the team from LA to St. Louis. And so she was hosting open call auditions on this whatever date. And I thought, you know, professional cheerleading is completely different than college cheerleading. They stunt, and Mrs. Frontieri actually was a showgirl, Vegas dancer. Most people don't know that. So her girls are very polished in dance, and they create this entertainment
Yeah.
illusion of um, of that kind of showgirl look. So I thought, there's just no way I'm going to walk into this room where there's almost 1,000 beautiful women all over, this huge ballroom. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to look at the best. I'm going to at least leave with a really great friend and have a great story and a good time. I'm going in. So you know what I did? I found the best dancer in the room, and I went right next to her. And her and I to this day are still great friends. But I knew that dance was not my strength. I'm a gymnast. I did stunting, but dance is completely different category.
Yeah, for
And it
sure.
was not a strength of mine. So I thought, if I come out of this with a great friend and have a good time, good for me, right? So I walked over and I just evaluated. And of course, you've got people with pink hair and all kinds of outfits on and thongs and stand out. You got media cameras everywhere. And I look around and I saw this girl that had the most amazing kicks and pirouettes. And she was just, her space perception was on. And so I stood next to her and I asked her to look and watch me, critique the heck out of me. So at least I can make it to the next round. And she worked, she did. She's like, yeah. Well, of
Wow.
course, it got down to the top, 75. And the top 75, you go to training camp at the practice dome, and they see how you interact with other girls, how your camaraderie is, how your group leadership is. They put you out in the community, see how you interact with the public. They get you on spot with interviews to see how you hold yourself how you can come up with, talking to the media. And so at the end of the day, I was one of the top 40. And I wasn't chose because of my strength in dance. Just as a football player is not chosen as an NFL football player to be an ambassador of this brand, this business, because he's got the fastest 40 yard, because he catches the most footballs. He's chosen because of the well-rounded athlete, the person, the man he is on the field as well as off the field. Are they coachable? Are they listen? Do they have good camaraderie? When they're exhausted and tired, do they show up? Do they take leadership well? Are they a leader on and off the field? What sort of things do they have as a personal part of their family life? What kind of things that they're involved in the community? So the selection process is more than just dance and having the best, pas de bourrée,
Yeah.
high kick, whatever. And so for me, walking away from cheerleading, I walked away from not a big bank account because we do not get paid well.
No.
I walked away with a network of priceless friendships. And to this day, I can call any one of these amazing player friends of mine, Marshall Falk. I could call him on the phone right now. Isaac Bruce, Kurt Warner, Dick Vermeil, the cheerleaders all over the country. I have met the original first Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. She's 92 years old. I met her at the alumni reunion last year. Like, to me, the network that I've walked away from and have opened up this beautiful world that I can lean on if I need help in whatever I'm asking for help. That's what I walked away from the cheerleading. That's what I got.
That is when I was talking about community, that's kind of what I was referring to. It's a special group. I mean, a different situation because I was in the college collegiate world, not the NFL, but we got to do a lot with the NFL and got to put on halftime shows with the Dolphins. And it was such but that community. And then anytime I meet a cheerleader to this day, it's like, I'm 44. I'm almost 30 years removed from that. Well, that's not right. Not 30 years. Whatever. My math stinks. But however many years, it was like a lifetime ago. Like, I can still do a backflip at 44, though. I can still do this. But that world is like, did I really live that life? That is so strange to me. But to this day, I get so geeked out. Kind of like when I see a wheelchair. Because I was in that industry for 18 years working with cerebral palsy and ALS and muscular dystrophy. And I get all excited. And I don't know what it is. I just get geeked out. Same thing with cheerleaders. So it's such a neat world, but those relationships, what I learned about, community, because you're doing a lot of community events and you're getting to be around different people. You get to be around the wealthiest of the wealthy and sometimes the most impoverished people. And you get to see this dynamic of good regardless. And
and one of the biggest, one big question that I often get asked when I do shows and interviews, and people ask me this even at public events when I see players and other cheerleaders, what do you miss the most? And they all answer the same. It's not game day. I'm not saying that game day isn't fun. Absolutely. Win or lose, it's still fun to be on the field. Sure. They miss locker room talk. What happens in the locker room, all the practical jokes, all the goofing around, all the silliness, all of the family bonding that happens. Sure. That's what every player, every cheerleader, you can contest to this. You lived both lives, football and cheerleading. It's the locker room. It's the bus rides. That is what we miss.
Oh, and practice too. Practice was, yeah, for sure. What, gosh, you're right. Are you still working with Michael J. Fox?
Yes, but more with the Muhammad Ali Parkinson's Foundation, because my foundation, Team Gateway to a Cure, we have shifted from fundraising to education for the caregiver. So what we do is we educate the caregiver, the one that's in the home caring for their loved one, whether it's ALS, Parkinson's, Lewy body dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever the brain,
Oh
well,
my God.
anybody that's a caregiver in the home. Because the insurance companies are now recognizing caregivers as the second patient. They have depression, anxiety, and financial hardship. So at the end of their day, when they hit their head on the pillow, where are they going for their support? And so if you remember when Muhammad Ali, Joshua, when he lit the torch
Yeah.
at the Olympics, he would not have been able to do that if it wasn't for his caregiver support system. His wife, Lonnie Ali, his widow, now
Mhm.
a dear friend of mine, his doctors, his children, all of those people that are in his circle that are protecting and helping him as caregivers, he would not be able to do those things. So it's so important for us to care and take care of those caregivers in the home. And since COVID, many people have decided to have their loved ones at home. They're choosing not to put them in nursing homes. Not that nursing homes aren't a bad option. They are a great option if that's the situation you're given. But
Depends
if
on
the
the nursing home.
situation gives, if you want to stay home, you have the four walls of your home with pictures of lifetime of family, laughter from hearing your family members laughing, and the smells of the kitchen of people, family members cooking, and just the comfort of be able to come and go as you please with no restriction. That's what they want. But unfortunately, the caregiver is put in a position where they have to take on a lot. And when I often speak at caregiver conferences, one of the big questions that are asked is, why should I be taking care of him? Where was he when I went through Little League football? He never showed up to any of my games. And now I got to stop my life. I'm a husband and I'm starting my own family, and I've got kids that I got to raise. And now he wants me to stop my life, and I got to take care of him. Well, where was he when I needed him? Where was he?
Yeah.
He's not there for me. Then when I went through Little League, she never showed up to any of my ballet recitals. Now I got to stop my life and take care of her. Where was she 30 years ago? So how do you meet the person where they're at, that they're not the same person where they were
Mm.
back then? And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of emotional history that has to be unraveled. And how do you get through that? And so I speak about a lot of that. And, so the caregiver is the one that we really, really focus on educating. My father was on hospice for 4 years. Hospice is not your deathbed. You don't call this service when you're taking your last breath. There's different levels of
Yeah.
hospice,
Yeah.
and you can graduate from level to level, which is awesome. But people think that word means that they're dying. I mean, my dad had art therapy once a week, animal therapy once a week. He had the barber show up once a month. He had his nails done and his toes done by the pedicure and manicurist every 2 weeks. He had music therapy, and artists come in and play. Like I want to sign up for hospice. Like, honestly, my dad is winning. He had women coming and going all day long. I mean, Ty Cobb had a smile on his face. Absolutely. Like, hospice is a really good program. It's got great services. And that's what we do with Team Gateway to a Cure is we announce that. We allow people to understand, if you want to stay home, what a great opportunity. And there are options for you. And you can learn so much of that through teamgatewaytoacare.org.
Okay, first of all, I didn't know that you guys shifted. That is such a need. I can speak to it 1,000 different ways, because when I was working with complex disabilities, I also worked with pediatrics. And, I'm sure you've seen this, moms trying to pick up and fold a Tilton Space manual wheelchair that weighs 75 pounds. It's awkward. I mean, the caregivers are just as important as the patient, because the patient has no chance without the caregivers.
Correct.
But if the more education and knowledge that a caregiver has, the more likely to a successful recovery or rehabilitation the patient has. Because one of the things that I noticed over the years, and I haven't been in the industry in a long time, but when I was negotiating contracts with the heads of insurance companies on behalf of the patients, after we sold our company, I took that position. I learned a lot about the healthcare system, and I already knew it was screwed up, but getting to see it from a different angle, from the shareholders side of things, it really opened my eyes. And these insurance companies care about their shareholders only. They don't care about the patient. So when we would negotiate contracts, we would have to make it sound like it was we had to make it their idea to give us more money. So we had to convince them by giving us more money, they would save money. That was our argument. And it worked because we'd have to prove it. But one of the things that we used to tell our patients is that you have to appeal everything, because an insurance company at that time would deny the percentage of, they knew that 93% of denied claims, and that number could be different now, but 93% of denied claims would never get appealed. Therefore, they would just deny them. That little fact alone, that for a caregiver, that saves so much money, because what happens is they have to pay out of pocket, they get stuck in debt. There's all of these little things that the case managers at the hospital, the rehab facility, they don't tell you.
They
so
don't.
What you're doing is so important. How are you, what type of education are you providing for the caregivers?
Good question. So most people that are reaching out for help, the baby boomer and, that age group, have a tendency to think hospice last stage of life, right? So what we do is we have lots of resources on the website to help connect you and educate you. Hospice is in every single city, town that we all live in. And there's many different multiple hospice programs. How awesome for you, if that's what your place you're in, to interview and see what these each hospice programs offer, and just get to choose from your interview process. Bring them in the home. If you look at hospice, the number one objective mission statement with all of them across the board is taking care of the caregiver and what is in the best interest for them. If they're unable to care for the patient, then that's where hospice comes in, to help assist. For instance, my mom, there's a hospice unit in town, and my mom would call the ambulance, come pick dad up, take him to my mom called it the hospice camp. The ambulance would come pick him up, put him in the ambulance, drive him to camp, hospice unit. He'd stay there for the weekend. All the ladies knew Ty. They knew exactly what he liked to eat. They knew all the games he liked to play. Had it all figured out. My mom would have the whole weekend with girlfriends, get some jobs, errands ran. She can catch up on house cleaning. She might even go visit a family member or two, whatever it is. Sunday morning, ambulance picks up Ty, brings him home. Happy hospice camp weekend. But that's a service that hospice program offered. The art therapy, the animal therapy, all of the different therapies. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's every 2 weeks, maybe it's once a month, maybe it's every day. Whatever your smorgasbord that you choose fits into your lifestyle is how it works. And the big question I get all the time is, well, how come my doctor doesn't talk about it? Great question. How come doctors don't push the hospice, right? They don't push the hospice for two reasons. Number one, the insurance companies, the hospice programs were in the past, the doctors were, they were working with them under the table and getting kickbacks. And the insurance companies found out about it. And so they stopped doing that because it put the doctor in risk. Number two, these patients, up until I think just very, very recently, Joshua, you had to stay in the hospice doctor network. but you don't have to do that anymore. You can go to any doctor you want. Before you had to go to their doctor, their hospice doctor. For my dad, it was their neurologist.
Yeah.
Now it's not that way anymore. So there's a lot more flexibility. It's
Good.
paid for. It's paid for through the government. It's a government assisted program. You don't have to pay anything based on the level that you qualify for. So,
That's impressive.
yes. And so starting the conversation, you and I, that keeps growing arms and legs and it gets the word out, it's going to help educate a lot of the caregivers in the home so that they're taken care of.
Whoa. Hopefully she'll come back. I wasn't expecting her to disappear. Well, hopefully she'll come back. She's incredible, right? Wow. What she's talking about with hospice is interesting because I remember you had to go to the person in network. Oh, there you are. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. Commercial break. Yeah. But as I was saying, there's a lot of these dinner auctions raising lots of money for the diseases and cures. And those are really important. But guess who's sitting right next to them? A caregiver. And they show up every day, never complaining, hopefully. But, they don't complain because you have the June Cleaver mentality. And a lot of these ladies who are mostly the women taking care of their husbands or the husbands taking care of their wives in the home as the primary caregiver. And so there's a little bit of an attachment of arrogance that goes along with that. What I mean is they take on all of the ownership of caregiving. They don't want anyone else helping because they know exactly what they need, the patient needs. They've got to do it all. They got to cook, they got to clean, they got to do all the laundry, they got to do all the medicine, the therapy. They got to do it all because that's their mindset. Well, it's very selfish of you to deny other family members to come in and say, you know what? Let me help out. Let me make dinner for one night a week, maybe. How about you go and do an errand and I sit and talk to dad or mom, get you out of the house so you can have some respite. So it's just interesting to see how much education that these caregivers truly need to get to educate themselves so that they can be the best version of who they are. When my dad passed away, my mom put her keys down. She just doesn't remember things. Like, what's her identity now? Like, who is she? She's not giving medicine and helping with therapy and changing diapers and feeding and cleaning and doing like she was losing, like she didn't know who she was anymore. So, and my dad, I told my mom, I'm like, you're his wife. You're not his nurse. Let hospice come in and help out. Let family members come in. Like, don't deny us to help to create a balance in the home and what that looks like. And then she finally let go of the control because they want to control so they feel like they're going to maybe make a difference. Like if I do enough, then maybe he'll go back to where he used to be. He's not. He's not going to go back to pre-Parkinson's. It's not going to happen. So you've got to learn how to understand those transitions and how to meet the person where they're at, because they're not going to go backwards. They're just going to continue. And as they're continuing to degenerate, enjoy them. Don't talk about the disease and the medicine. You know what my dad wants to do? He wants to sit with a dude. He wants to dude talk. And he wants to talk about the stock market. He wants to talk about the war. He wants to talk about cowboys and Indians. Wants a comedy on the TV. He doesn't want to talk about his Parkinson's. So let him be a dude. Let him just enjoy where he's at in the process. He knows he's going to go. but we don't have to keep reminding him every single minute and care to him like he's a child.
That's such good advice. It's so sound. And it's so forward thinking too, that what you're doing, and you're right about the caregiver. And this goes across the board because with any disability, it's not just hospice.
Yeah.
Caregivers matter. Caregivers, even for mental health issues. Like I am so grateful that I have a partner that, she's helped me navigate a lot of really challenging mental issues as I've healed. And it's because I have an educated caregiver, so to speak, and not a real caregiver, but I mean, she has been to me, like it's on a lighter level.
Absolutely.
It has been that, and also a manager and like other things. But having that has helped me navigate some very awkward, challenging situations with how my brain will change things, and whether it's the dissociative identity disorder, and I'm being tested for ASD right now, and which I thrive with because I've had a caregiver or someone in my life that cares enough and is knowledgeable to help me navigate and go, yeah, that was actually real, or no, that wasn't real, or
right.
And
Yep.
those are the challenges I have. So I'm hoping that as healthcare continues to evolve and change, that we start looking and focusing it for caregivers and start funding caregivers across the board, across all medical issues.
Right. Yeah. And there's a caregiver in siblings caring for their younger siblings. There could be a mother, a single mother caring as an adult child, caring for their parents as well as themselves if they might have something they're battling as well as their children. And it comes in so many different packages, but yeah, educating the caregiver is so important. And I'm so honored and blessed to be a part of educating and getting the resources out through Team Gateway to a Cure, my foundation. And you can go to the website, www.teamgatewaytoacure.org, and get more information. Reach out to me. I'm happy to help understand a little bit more of if you are stuck, what does that look like? I get email all the time, Jen, I'm in a different state. That's fine. Thank goodness for technology.
Was about to ask you that
for
question.
30 minutes. Maybe you can't be there, but there's a thing called Uber Eats, Grubhub. Maybe you Grubhub a meal, that one meal that mom or so and dad doesn't have to cook, and gives them a break from another meal. There's so many options.
Sure.
Like it's just about being grandkids, grandkids. Maybe you're in a different state, all across a different part of the world. Thank goodness for FaceTime. Let's FaceTime grandpa or your loved one or whoever's going through whatever, and FaceTime for 20 minutes. Maybe just send them a letter in the mail. I don't know. There's so many different great options. It's just about starting the conversation.
Tell me about the documentary.
So yes, House of Arms.
Ooh.
So House of Arms is about the life of Tom House, who is battling Parkinson's. Tom House, if you Google him, is very well known in the NFL arena as the quarterback coach behind the scenes. Tom Brady is Tom Brady because of Tom House. He's a biomechanic doctor guru with the arm. So House of Arms, his last name, great name for the movie. He also works with Major League Baseball pitchers. He's the gentleman that he's the player that caught Hank Aaron's ball in the dugout years and years ago. Yeah. But he never was quite the best pitcher, but he was very talented. But over the years, he's worked with, he's worked with Tom Brady, Randy Johnson with the baseball. He's worked with Tebow. He's worked with Drew Brees is in the movie. Mac Jones with the Patriots. He's do some work with him. But he looks at the mechanics of the arm and the whole body alignment and how that works. And so what he has done for so many athletes all over the world, He's now using those same concepts to battle the biggest disease of his life, and that's Parkinson's. And
Whoa.
so what he does through the movie, it's twofold. He unravels and tests all these different therapies for neurological disorders, which is great for the up and coming medical student and doctors, neurologists, to see what truly is out there and being tested all over the world. But then the other side is the caregiver, the one that is behind the scenes. His wife, Marie House, who her and I speak a lot in the movie about what it's like behind the scenes to be a caregiver, and the traveling caregivers that travel with Tom, where he's traveling all over the world helping athletes in baseball and football, and how his traveling caregivers care for Tom while he battles his Parkinson's disease. So I'm really honored. The trailer is just about finished. We are filming with Brady in a few more weeks for one more scene. And then Tom Brady's coming out with his own movie that Tom House is involved in. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll keep you posted. You can go to the website, teamgatewaytoacure.org, and get more information about the trailer release. It'll be about a 12 to 15 minute trailer. It's going to be long, and then they'll go into post-production and it'll be released. So
Are you guys doing theatric, or are you going to do, you're going to self-host it or self-distribute? What are you going to do?
Yeah. So the trailer will, we're going to have a huge event in Boston.
Hmm.
There's a place, New Balance just built a beautiful indoor track, and they offered to host the trailer viewing. And so
Wow.
I'll definitely send you an invite.
If you need an MC,
Yeah, absolutely. That's
don't
true. Yeah.
tease me. I'm serious. I'll start walking now.
Yeah.
I
No,
would
that's, yeah.
love to MC that event. I got
Yeah.
to meet, oh my gosh, I got to meet a lot of the people that you mentioned filming the Super Bowl commercial 3 years ago when I was still living in LA. That was a dream. Getting to be around all of my favorite athletes, like from a
Nice.
lifetime. So
Yes,
anyway, but that crowd is a lot of fun.
it
And
is, and it's great.
yeah.
It's so much fun, and the NFL actually is having me and all the alumni back December 15th in LA for a Rams football game. We're going to go back on the field and perform. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, lots of good things happening
Oh,
the first of
cool.
the year. Yeah.
So you are okay. That was another question I was going to ask, because I didn't remember. I thought I remembered that you became a Rams cheerleader right as they went to St. Louis, so I did
Inaugural
remember
season.
that correctly. But you're
Mhm.
still involved with them, and now that they're in LA, so that's so cool. It's almost like full
Yeah, they
circle.
invite the alumni. They really truly want us to still be involved. So they have an alumni game each year. Since COVID, there hadn't been one, but now they just brought it back. So December 15th, I'll be on the field. Oh, shit. Shaking my pom poms, Joshua. Woo-hoo! We're gonna do this, aren't we? Woo-hoo!
Can you still tumble?
Well, we don't tumble on the field. We're dancers,
Well,
but
I know
I,
that you were a gymnast though, so that's why I
yeah,
was
yeah, and I can still hold a split. I
asking.
can still do a backflip, but that's about max. Honestly, a
It
cartwheel, I
hurts
can
so bad.
totally do one handed.
It hurts. It could have something, the fact that I weigh 240 pounds, but maybe that's
Yeah.
why it hurts. And I've had 2 back surgeries.
Oh,
Um,
you're
okay.
so fun.
I I am fun. So, and I'm serious about emceeing. Anyway, I want to ask you now about your books. Tell me about the children's books, because
Yeah.
I didn't know
So
about this.
yes, it's called Cheer for Care, and it's about a little girl named Christina who goes to school, and she's got something on her mind. So she comes home off the school bus, and she asks her mom that she's noticed that her dad is not acting the same, and so her mom tells her that he has Parkinson's, and
Mm.
so of course the younger generation so technology savvy, technically, a lot better than I am. So she goes online and researches all of these, the information of what Parkinson's is and the neurological disorder. And what she does is she comes up with some really creative, through the eyes of a child, the creativity that comes out, how she brings smiles to her dad's face. And so the book goes through um, Christina and how she is actually a caregiver that does not have to take a lot of money. There's no money involved. How just the most innocent creativity, just spontaneous ways that Christina cares for her dad. And it's a sweet little story. I was honored to meet with Maxine Clark, who's the CEO and founder of Build-A-Bear. And I showed her the book, and she thought it was so sweet. And she came up with the idea of doing the second book, which would be Christina's best friend confides in her on the way home from school that she's noticed something about a family member, and how the two come together and collaborate on some creative ways. The younger generation is very philanthropic. They want to give back. They want to serve.
Yeah.
We don't give them enough credit. It does not cost a dime to have that creativity in your loved one's home. And so it's interesting through these stories, these children's stories, how children can relate to that sort of situation. For instance, if you're a grandfather or a grandmother, look at a grandparent when their grandkids come in the room, their eyes light up. Like that's the symbolism that is coming through this book, the story. Cheer for care.
You're my coolest friend. I think
Okay.
you're so inspiring. I mean, I have cool friends, but you're just,
Super
I
cool.
love how you've just you've put all of these pieces together. It's not like one little, a lot of people, they focus in on one thing and they just ride that the whole way. And it's an easy thing to fall into. You are expressing your gifts and talents through all of these different mediums. And for me, again, because I do the same thing, it's inspiring. But getting to see it from this side, what you're doing, it's, gosh, I keep saying it's inspiring, but it is. And it's
Thank you so
encouraging.
much.
So what's next for you? Because you're not done. You still have all the energy that you did when you were cheering for the Rams. And you've got these new projects, but I know this is not it for you. So what's next?
Yeah, so right now I'm gonna really focus on the release of the movie and see where that goes. We've got some merch, I said the word, that I'm creating with the director right now, and I'm excited about that. And just enjoying finalizing the book. I need to publish it. Still, that's the end project that I have to follow through on that. Um, I'd love to get the book in children's hospitals, libraries, even neurological doctors' offices, because if you look at Parkinson's, the majority, the age category, they are grandparents. So it'd be a great story for grandparents to read to their grandchildren. That's kind of where I'm holding pattern right now. And then once the movie gets released, it goes into a different category from documentary into major motion picture. And who will play Tom House? I think there's been some whisper behind the scenes of Mark Wahlberg. If you look at some of the younger pictures of Tom House, kind of looks a little bit like Mark, maybe with a little bit of a hair wig. But yeah, so I'm just going to kind of let the Lord just kind of walk me through and just kind of stay quiet right now and see how these couple of projects, got to finish those out, and then we'll see what comes around the corner.
Well, I'm cheering for you,
Aw,
rooting for you the whole way, and
thank you.
anything I can do to help or support what you're doing, like I'm in. You just let me know, and I'm in, because
You're so
I
sweet.
love what you're doing.
That means so much to hear. I was so excited to talk with you today. I know there was an internet issue or something that happened,
Oh,
and
for
I
two
was like,
weeks.
I was like so sad. I'm like, oh, I was so sad. I couldn't wait to see you.
I know, I was bummed. I literally no internet for 2 weeks, but that was kind of strange too, because that worked out to be a blessing because I had to. I think we were talking about this earlier. I had to step back from what I was doing long enough to let it breathe and for me to actually see what I was doing, because I was just like head down, driving forward, and didn't come up for breath. That allowed me to step back and go, oh, and then all of these new ideas. And so I rebuilt a platform, my new platform,
Nice.
and I kind of honed in the vision a little bit more, and some of the details and the specifics and the strategy of how I was going to move forward and how I was going to incorporate AI and blah, 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 blah. So that 2 weeks was the greatest gift for what I'm doing, even
Awesome.
though in the middle, it took me about 4 days of not freaking out.
You
4 days
were
of
going
freaking
through
out.
like
And
busy
then I go,
control.
oh, now it's a blessing. Yeah. Because I kept trying to rig the internet. I was trying to hack into other people's internet, and like, this is not
Oh,
working
you're
out for me.
so cute.
How am I going to get work done? Because the internet, the town I live in, they have a city internet, but it's not fast enough to do any of the things that I need. So I'm like, this is not working, but it all worked out eventually.
Well,
Um,
that's great. I'm so, so happy.
I'm glad that we got to talk, and I cannot. I know that somehow, some way, we're going to work together and collaborate together
Yep.
on something. And I'm sincere when I say anything I can do to support you in what you're doing. Again, I've worked with complex disabilities for 18 years. I understand what you're doing. Parkinson's has affected my family, amongst dementia and other things, and so your heart for humanity, your heart for what you do, but also your determination is something that has inspired me for years. And having this conversation has just lit a huge fire in me. And I'm so thankful for you.
Oh, you're so sweet. The kindest words ever. Thank you so much. And it's been such a joy and a delight to finally sit with you and have some good combo. And I'm always here for you too. I want to be one of those in your circle. I want you to reach out to me. I've got your back. I've got your blind spot. And, any time of the day, you can call me, reach out to me, and I'm always there for you. Even if it's another set of eyes and ears to look at something, I'm there.
I'm very appreciative of that. So please take this moment to have the last words and also plug anything you want to plug.
Oh, well, yeah. So if you're out there and listening, and are inspired by the words and the things that we've talked about, or if you just want more information and resources that are in your town, where you live, www.teamgatewaytoacure.org. It's a wonderful website. I've spent a good year mastering it and getting it to a point to where you can navigate through the website and get so many different great information, stories out there, resources of hospice in your town, and shoot me an email. I'm always happy to hop on a call or respond to an email, anything, because I know there's someone out there that's going through it, and you're not alone. There's always somebody that is there to help you through it. So teamgatewaytoacure.org.
You're a blessing. I look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
Yes, in person. Absolutely. Well, God bless you. Thank you again for having me, and always a joy to see you, Joshua.